The wait goes on. Delays slow Taiwan's access to new anti-tank and anti-air missiles. Running on empty, water levels drop in Taiwan's biggest reservoir. Taiwan looks to recruit and retain more caregivers for its aging population. Plus, a record-breaking election. We ask what's next for female politicians after they win big in local polls. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. A report from the Wall Street Journal has highlighted that a handful of weapons packages from the US destined for Taiwan have been delayed. It comes at a time when Taiwan is trying to bolster its defenses and as China increases its military activity throughout the region. Jaime Ocon reports.
This is the Javelin missile system. It's a popular choice of weapon for countries looking to defend against a larger adversary, such as with Ukrainian forces fending off Russia's invasion. Taiwan placed an order for several hundred of these missiles with the United States back in 2015. But a recent article by the Wall Street Journal said that these and a number of weapons orders has been delayed, in part due to the war in Ukraine and production holdups caused by COVID-19. On Tuesday, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense played down the report, though without going into much detail.
那么整体来说，目前所有美方对我们的军售都按照程序进行。那么至于这些执行当中的案子，它的细节进度，那么都属于双方的一个机密，我们不会对外做一个明确的说明。
In its article, the journal brings particular attention to two delayed arms orders. The first is for Javelin missiles, with more than 200 units yet to be delivered. And the second is the Stinger, an anti-air system with 215 units also backlogged. They're part of a wider series of purchases intended to help bolster Taiwan's defensive capabilities. In recent years, China, which sees Taiwan as part of its territory, has been ramping up its military pressure on the island nation. Experts say that weapons like the Stinger could help Taiwan to protect its skies, much like has been seen in Ukraine.
You can't invade another country unless you control the air. And one of the reasons it's gone so bad for Ukraine, for Russia, is the fact that they never could get control of the air. And that's why the Stinger was so huge, right? The Stinger is a very portable, lethal, almost like the Javelin system, but it actually shoots a lot farther.
Despite the delay, the U.S., Taiwan's largest arms supplier, says it's still committed to helping Taiwan defend its borders.
But we take very seriously our responsibility to help provide Taiwan the self-defense capabilities that it needs. That's in accordance with law and policy, and that's not going to change.
But it still means that for the next year or two, Taiwan will be short in its defensive armaments. Now, the country may have to find other ways to boost its defenses, as Beijing shows little sign of slowing its own military buildup. Leon Lien and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
For more on the delay in weapons deliveries to Taiwan, our reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to Paul Huang, a research fellow with the Taiwan Public Opinion Foundation.
This report from the Wall Street Journal highlights delays, particularly in Stinger and Javelin missiles. How significant is this in Taiwan's overall defense strategy?
Among the items that have been reported by Wall Street Journal as being delayed, the Stingers, the Javelins and anti-tank guided missiles, the Stinger as main portable anti-air missiles. Those are not even, in my view, are not even the most serious delays that we have seen. Now, again, all these delays, there are many explanations, different explanations why they happen. One of which was cited by U.S. reports because of Ukraine, that the U.S. policy makers prioritize delivering weapons to Ukraine, that the U.S., the Washington, saw the weapons that they have sold to Taiwan, they promised to sell to Taiwan, weren't in Taiwan's best interests.
The U.S. is no doubt Taiwan's biggest arms supplier. But with a shortage of production, do you think other countries like Japan or the UK even might step in because they also see security in the Taiwan Strait as a priority?
In terms of the other country, the China as a rising military threat to these countries, then you'd imagine that these other countries, especially around Taiwan, that would have an interest or at least open to proposition to sell or even aid Taiwan in certain weapons platform technologies that Taiwan cannot produce itself. In the 90s, Taiwan bought the Lafayette class frigates, the Mirage fighters from France, and along with a lot of other logistics and missiles and parts. There was a massive arms sale in the 90s, but that never happened after the 2000s. These countries that none of these countries wanted to sell and things to Taiwan anymore because of political pressure from China.
China is rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal and at the current rate could have around 1,500 warheads by 2035. That's according to a major new report from the United States Department of Defense. Last year, China was estimated to have just 350 active nuclear warheads. The report also found that China conducted 135 ballistic missile tests in 2021, more than the rest of the world combined. While the Pentagon does not anticipate an imminent invasion, the report does lay out 4 potential military actions China could take against Taiwan. These range in likelihood from a maritime blockade to targeted infrastructure strikes, a missile campaign, or a full invasion. The remains of a Taiwanese volunteer who died fighting for Ukraine is back home. Zheng Sengguang, an army veteran, was killed in action against Russian forces on November 2nd. He was 25 years old. Zheng is the only Taiwanese known to have died in the Ukraine war so far. Taiwan's foreign ministry arranged for Zheng's wife, mother and sister to travel to Ukraine. There they attended a memorial service for him. Zheng's mother spoke about him when the family arrived back in Taiwan on Wednesday.
他们跟我描述了正光在战场上的勇敢和无私，让他们非常的感动。他们会永远记得他。
Former Chinese President Jiang Zemin has died at the age of 96. Chinese state media say Jiang died of leukemia and multiple organ failure in Shanghai on Wednesday. He became Communist Party leader in 1989 in the wake of the Tiananmen Square crackdown and served until 2002. Under his leadership, China experienced huge economic growth. He was leader of China during the 1996 Taiwan Strait crisis. His death comes as China's ruling Communist Party is dealing with a wave of public opposition that hasn't been seen since Tiananmen. That has been sparked by unhappiness with its strict COVID controls. Protests in China over the weekend against strict COVID-19 measures have triggered rallies in support around the world, including in Taiwan. But so far, Chinese students studying here have remained generally quiet about the issue. Eric Gao explains.
More police on the streets of China's major cities. Authorities have strengthened security after unprecedented protests on Sunday against the government's strict COVID-19 rules. Several protesters were arrested, while others were interrogated and released. Chinese citizens around the world have shown support for the protests, but for some Hong Kong or Chinese students studying in Taiwan, it's fear of reprisal stopping them from speaking out.
要你们说不要怕到我样子，怕到我名字，其实不是我怕我自己人身自由的问题，不是怕我安全的问题，我是怕我家人有事。
A vigil was held in Taipei on Sunday in support of the Chinese protests. Some mainland students were there, but they generally kept a low profile.
昨天就是有在6广场办那个行动，还是有不少路上到的，然后就这些当时都没有到前面嘛，还是会觉得蛮感动的吧，然后有这样的一些很勇敢的表达。
For their part, Taiwanese students are getting more involved. Blank pieces of paper, a symbol of protest in China, are popping up across campuses.
对于这件事情其实蛮乐见的，毕竟大陆的被隔离太多时间，他们其实受不了了。
Another rally is planned in Taipei on the 4th of December. More people will be speaking out in support of China's protesters, so Chinese students here won't have to put themselves in the spotlight. Patrick Chen, Ryan Hoko-Patrick, and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Coast Guard has detained a Chinese fishing boat trespassing in waters off the central city of Taichung.
未经多次广播，该船仍蛇行拒检。本队遂强势登检，经多次强靠，终于登检成功。因违法事实明确，后续将渔船押返台中港海巡基地侦办。
The boat had 13 Chinese fishers on board. It set out from China's Fujian province on Monday and was caught while trawling early on Tuesday morning. It is the second Chinese vessel caught trespassing in the last 2 weeks. The value of semiconductors produced in Taiwan is predicted to hit 5 trillion Taiwan dollars next year. That's equivalent to nearly 162 billion US dollars. This forecast was made by Taiwan's Industrial Technology Research Institute. If true, it will be a 6.1% year-on-year growth in the value of Taiwan's microchips. The organization says that despite global inflation and a slowing market presence in China, demand for chips would remain strong into next year. Newly developed technology is also expected to boost the value of the products. Taiwanese semiconductor giant TSMC will begin production of their most advanced 3-nanometer chips in 2023. Taiwan is struggling to fill a growing need for qualified caregivers to look after the country's older citizens, especially those with disabilities. Jeremy Olivier has more.
Caring for older people with disabilities, a difficult but increasingly necessary task as Taiwan's aging population continues to grow at a rapid pace. Over 800,000 of Taiwan's citizens aged 65 and older currently suffer from physical and cognitive impairment, and it is becoming more difficult to find appropriately trained caregivers for them. Taiwan relies heavily on migrant labor from developing Southeast Asian nations to look after its older residents. But the often great needs of their charges and lack of time off have led to burnout among many of these workers.
他本来是照顾失能的长辈，是卧床比较多。就他因为可能长辈有一些新的状况，他需要转换到其他下一个家庭的时候，变成面对可以走走跑跑跳跳，然后晚上不睡觉失智长辈，其实他就会非常痛苦。
To improve the situation, workers groups say employers need to better understand what caregivers go through, often working around the clock without a break.
以休假为例好了，其实我们现在的长照2.0的喘息服务，一天最多可以提供到10个小时的照护服务员入家替手的这样的服务。
But recruiting and retaining caregivers may take more than adequate rest time. One suggestion is to offer them opportunities to improve their skills while in Taiwan.
除了只是训练之外，有没有再多一个是认证的这个概念，让我们的照顾移工会觉得说，哎，我不是只是做一个家务的部分或保护性看视。
The idea is to create a win-win situation for both caregivers and their employers, a solution labor groups and academics hope can help Taiwan address its urgent demographic dilemma. Patrick Chen and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's local elections this week saw a record number of women elected as county and city leaders. As Rick Glaut reports, it's a bumpy road to gender equality in Taiwan politics.
Zhou Chunmi makes history in Taiwan's southern Pingdong County, becoming the rural county's first elected female leader.
大家问说女的县长有什么样的特质？我想温柔、细腻、坚强，这都是女性非常非常重要的特质。
In recent local polls across the country, women won a record 9 out of 21 county and city leadership positions. It's a boost for a country which already takes the lead in Asia for gender equality in politics. Women occupy more than 40% of the legislature, and for the last 7 years, the country has been ruled by President Tsai Ming-liang. Behind this, Taiwan's gender quotas, reserving seats for women by law for more than 50 years.
This is not just happened in one night. It's really because we have a quota system to have a systematic intervention and revise the male dominant politics.
But attitudes are harder to change. Women's rights activists warn that female politicians are still judged on their looks and sexualized in a way male politicians are not. Even the president has not been spared attacks based on her appearance.
I think in the whole campaign process, I think not only the media or ordinary people, they just like to present female candidates as hottie girls or something like that. We are voting for candidates who has a good talent or good ability in the political arena, right? Not for, we are not have a beauty campaign or a beauty pageant.
Newly elected Chief Zhou wants to put her abilities as a lawyer to use when she takes office in Pingdong, the country's poorest county. She is planning infrastructure projects, including extending the West Coast high-speed rail to boost the economy and raise standards of living.
我想种种的建设，攸关着屏东未来100年，所以更需要一个非常了解宪政、非常坚韧不拔、坚毅努力的女性，来为母则强，来带领这个屏东。
As politicians like Zhou take more of a lead across the country, it is hoped attitudes towards women in positions of power also advance. Andy Schreier, Rath Wang and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
Stay with us here on Taiwan Plus. Coming up, Taiwanese doctors lending a helping hand in Nepal. Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. A team of eye specialists from a hospital in southern Taiwan have been providing optical tests in a rural town in Nepal. They are also helping develop telemedicine technology in other parts of the world. The medical specialists' aim is to help more people to have access to eye checks, even if they live far from well-equipped hospitals. Bing Wang reports.
Taiwanese doctors perform eye tests in the mountainous Nepalese town of Bias. This team of specialists from Taiwan's Taidong Hospital have traveled to this remote area to open a free eye clinic. The local hospital is lacking in resources. They don't even have an optometrist on staff. On the clinic's first day, hundreds of people lined up to get their eyes checked.
手机去记录以后才发现，那些民众他们在排队的过程里面，他们完全都没有任何的抱怨。
The Taiwanese staff are only here temporarily, but they're working to establish a permanent eye clinic in the area, one that has visual communication links with Taidong Hospital. This way, its doctors can provide consultations from thousands of miles away.
Taimani Hospital 没有眼科医师，那所以我们可以做到诊断跟建议治疗，帮他做转介。
In addition to the clinic, the Taiwanese specialists are assisting in digitalizing the locals' medical records.
我们台湾现在都是电子病历，但是尼泊尔是有史以来第一张。
Taidong Hospital has plans to open more clinics like this in remote and difficult-to-access parts of the world. The staff hope they can help more people to receive medical help in places where it's not always freely available. Howard Zhang and Bing Wang for Taiwan Plus.
The U.S. Senate has passed legislation aimed at protecting same-sex marriage rights. The bill would mean that if individual states ban same-sex marriages in the future, they must still recognize marriages that have legally taken place in other states. It will now go to the lower chamber for a final vote. The move comes amid fears the U.S. Supreme Court could overturn the decision to legalize same-sex marriage. In June, the court overturned the nationwide right to an abortion. Later, one justice said the court should consider reversing its ruling on gay marriage from 7 years ago. This year, northern Taiwan has seen some of its rainiest months on record, but in the south of the country, a dry spell has hit local water supplies. Officials in the city of Tainan say reservoirs have enough water to last only until February. Stash Butler reports.
Taiwan's biggest reservoir running on empty. Officials say the water level here at Zhengwen in southern Taiwan is at just above 30% capacity. They're doing what they can to stem the outflow.
第一个是曾文乌山头水库系统农业用水的部分，那在二期作跟秋冬操作就配合作物生长跟现地降雨状况，适时延长间断公灌的频率，来降低水库的出水量。
In 2021, Taiwan was hit by a countrywide record-breaking drought. This year, it's the opposite story. Most of Taiwan's reservoirs have ample supply after the north saw some of the rainiest months on record. But in parts of southern Taiwan, the rainy season never really came. The city of Tainan has seen less than half the rainfall it did last year. Officials are now taking action to ensure people there can get the water they need.
用高屏溪剩余的一个川流水来提升整个高雄地区清水北送支援台南每日20万立方公尺，落实每日南化水库出水量管控在50万立方公尺以下。
So far, Tainan officials have not cut water to the city's homes. They say they have enough to last till February. Ample time, they hope, for more rain to fall. Alex Chen and Stash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
The Transport Ministry has announced plans aimed at making Taiwan's roads safer. That's as the number of fatal accidents this year surpasses 2,000. John Van Trieste has the details.
Scooters are one of the most popular ways of getting around in Taiwan, but they can be dangerous. From January to September, more than half of the 2,200 fatal accidents on Taiwan's roads involved at least one scooter. Officials think this may have to do with Taiwan's scooter licensing system. The practical part of the driving test happens on a closed course with no traffic. Test takers don't have to show that they can drive safely under real conditions. That could be about to change. From April next year, driving school students will be able to opt for real-world training. The government will pay them close to $40 for doing 3 hours of supervised on-road driving. The course will be optional, at least in the beginning.
道路的训练呢，我们先看它的成果。如果需要纳入我们整个取到执照里面的一部分，我们等到明年实施一段时间再做一个确定的时间。
But scooters aren't the only problem. The Transport Ministry plans to add traffic signs or signals to 3,000 dangerous intersections. Officials say clearer traffic directions will help older drivers in particular. Older adults caused 10% more accidents from January to September this year than they did during the same period last year. And as Taiwan's population ages, the number of older drivers is set to grow.
示范一个叫高龄友善区，就是说在也选择1到2个县市的高龄事故比较多的地区来进行这个高龄友善区的一个示范。
The Transport Ministry says it's ready to work with local governments to bring down the number of accidents and make driving in Taiwan safer. And it believes changes like these could be the start. Paul Huang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
An exhibition honouring Malaysian-Taiwanese film director Tsai Ming-liang has opened in Paris. The exhibition displays several of the director's films, as well as some of Tsai's more recent live performances and artwork. Sam Robbins reports.
This art house film, Stray Dogs, won its Malaysian-Taiwanese director, Tsai Ming-liang, the Grand Jury Prize at the Venice Film Festival in 2013. Among Taiwan's most notable filmmakers, Tsai's work has garnered over 30 international awards. He's renowned as a master of slow cinema, capturing the isolation of modern life through extreme long shots. Tsai's work is now being showcased at the Pompidou Center in Paris, one of the world's largest modern art galleries. Aside from his films, other pieces, like this one called Walker, are also being presented.
到了当代，我在做这个事情，其实也是有一种，可能有一种渴望吧，觉得这个世界可以再慢一点点，不要这么匆忙，怎么讲呢？追求的东西不必要那么多
The art piece involves an actor walking extremely slowly in different locations or performing the daily life of a Buddhist monk. The piece has been developing for over 10 years, and it grows every time Tsai puts on a new exhibit.
它很难说真的在表达什么，它就是一种精神。
The exhibition, entitled A Quest, will be on until early January. At the opening ceremony, its curator, Amélie Gali, expressed her admiration for Tsai's work.
Ce qu'on connaît aujourd'hui de Taïwan et de cette île et de son engagement et de la force aussi de résistance du peuple taïwanais, car c'est comme ça que j'ai l'impression qu'on le vit dans ces films. J'ai l'impression qu'on lui doit beaucoup en fait de ça et de cette complicité entre la France et Taïwan qui existe aujourd'hui.
Tsai previously said he promised himself to only make 10 feature-length films, but he has already made 11. His most recent film, Days, came out in 2020. He said he's still unsure as to whether he will make a 12th film. In the meantime, he's using performance art to capture his reflections on life itself.
生命的追求就是这样子嘛，就是你要越活越清楚，越活越明白，然后你就不会被困住。
Tsai made his feature film debut 3 decades ago. This exhibit in Paris encapsulates his journey so far and is the latest step on his ongoing artistic evolution. As Naya Cho and Sam Robbins for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of the light show at France's National Museum of Natural History. I'm Yin Khvat. Take care. See you next time.